And we are live on the radio on WPAT radio. And I want to show everybody what we're talking about when I say WPAT radio, because we are live to about, yeah, I would say,
And we
10 million people on the in the New York area, which is a pretty nice size audience. And here is their website. So you can watch us, listen to us, not watch, but you can listen to us at WPAT 9:30 a.m. at your radio dial. My name is Gary Scarano. I am the host here, and for quick fire interviews, we have 5 interviews today in 1 hour. I am also the author of the book, The Jesus Gospel. That's right. I was Catholic and I became going to Bible studies, and I said, "Where's the one book about Jesus?" And they said, "Well, there's four." So what I've done is, for the first time in this particular matter, combine the four books of the Bible, the four books of the Gospels, into one simple story. And the amount of detail that is there is amazing. It is endorsed by Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. So please pick up a copy of my book, The Jesus Gospel, at my website, jesusgospel.com. jesusgospel.com. It is available on Amazon and other sites. And also, I am the author of the Underdog Report. I'm a writer for Joe Hoff, part of the Gateway Pundit, joehoff.com. And I write about current events from Christian perspective. So that's what kind of things that I'm talking about. But I have certain guests here today that we're going to talk about many other things, very, very interesting things. And the first guest I have here is I want to introduce is a colonel. He's a Colonel Wes Martin. Now, his background is pretty significant when we're talking about Iran. Iran is in the news. Everybody's talking about it. He had a very significant position in the military in Iran. Why don't, Colonel, tell us what that position was?
Uh, my first assignment in Iraq, I was the senior anti-terrorism officer for all coalition forces. Second assignment, I was the operations chief for Task Force 134 detention operations. Third assignment, I was the base commander of Camp Ashraf, working with the Iranian resistance, the Mojahedin cult. So between those three positions, I dealt with the Iranian regime problem continually and watching them continually coming in and meddling in Iraq. And about a decade ago, the Pentagon released a report that said at least 608 American deaths in Iraq were directly attributed to the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, the IRGC, which I know we'll be talking about a lot.
Wow. So I want to talk about Iran today because everybody's talking about it. And the key topic is, hey, how long is this going to go on? This I guess war. I don't know if you call it a war, but this war with that Trump is bombing, which I'm totally supportive. I don't want them to have a nuclear bomb, but when are they going to kind of put up the white flag?
The Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, they're not. They don't care. In January, they butchered 36,000 of their own people by their own estimates. Amnesty International put it much higher. And I saw the UN report
How much higher did Amnesty put it at?
up to 80,000. What
80.
happened is the protesters in the street, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps, went out with machine guns and just started mowing them down. And that was phase four of their response plan to country rioting and turmoil. I've seen the plan, so I've seen phase four. The plan that I haven't seen, but I know they had, and they've executed it, is when the country is attacked from the outside, especially the United States or Israel, how will they respond? And that's what we saw. As soon as Trump and Netanyahu launched the attack right on the Ayatollah's compound for openness, the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps immediately sealed off the strait, immediately started launching drones, and we're seeing the continuation. In the Middle East, they have a saying, when I am in a position of weakness, how can I negotiate? When I am in a position of strength, why should I? And right now, the IRGC feels like they're in the position of strength.
Wow, that's amazing. And haven't they, you know, killed many of the leaders with the bombs here?
They have the Allied forces. They have, but what we've done is we've opened up the promotion system, uh, and we've also caused a shift in power. Before uh, Khomeini was the supreme leader, his son has now taken over, but we don't hear from him. What we do hear from, and we see continually, is the IRGC is running everything. So when Trump says, "Well, we're negotiating with the Iranians," well, he's negotiating with the executive branch, and now they become subordinate to the IRGC. So he's negotiating with the wrong people, and also he's sending the wrong people from the very beginning. He sent his son-in-law, and he sent his fellow real estate tycoon to do the primary negotiations. Well, what he should have, and on the Iranian side, they sent the minister of the foreign minister. So we have members of Trump's family and his inner circle going, and that was an imbalance that actually favored the Iranians because when they told Kirshner, no, no deal, they're snubbing the president direct. He should have sent nobody any higher than Marco Rubio to do those negotiations. He sent the wrong people, plus they weren't experienced.
Wow, that's interesting insight there. So, the people are saying, and you're saying they're not going to give up. They're waiting for. Some people are saying they're waiting for the midterms, hopeful that the Democrats will gain power. The Democrats will be soft on Iran. They'll let them get a atom bomb. I don't know, a nuclear bomb. They'll let them come to America, and they'll try to stop all the attacks. Is that kind of the rumor? Is that what you think that's true?
There's merit to that argument. One thing, wars are fought off supplemental budgets. That's the way they're supposed to be fought. And that is when we go to war, Congress allocates additional money to fight it. Trump is fighting the war off primary budget, the operating budget. So all these missiles, all these bombs he is dropping, they need to be replaced. But in order to replace them in mass at the speed he's using them, they need to have a supplemental budget. An 87 billion dollar budget was put before Congress, but it's gone nowhere. And the Iranian government, and we need to separate the Iranian government from the Iranian people. The Iranian people are very fine people. It's a very corrupt government they have, the number one exporter of international terrorism. They're watching all this, and they know if in November Trump loses the House and he loses the Senate, or either one of them, he's never going to get that supplemental budget, and he's going to be so busy infighting with Congress that our country is going to be in chaos for the next 2 years.
Do you think that will happen, or do you think American people are waking up to what's really going on with the Democratic Party, with their extreme left wing uh, stances?
The Democrat Party is in chaos with this extreme left wing, and I've watched it. In the last election, in all honesty, the presidential election was for the Democrats to lose, and they did. Joe Biden stayed in saying, "Oh, I can be president," and his inner circle. And I like Tony Blinken. I consider him a personal friend, Secretary of State. But he too stayed quiet, which caused me to lose a lot of faith in Tony. But then Harris stayed quiet. Everybody stayed quiet until Biden and Trump goes into debate. And I'm in Paris with a resistance conference at the time. And Struan Stevenson, the former European Union representative from Scotland, comes down the morning after the debate, just shaking his head, seeing what an embarrassment Biden had made. And then suddenly the Democrats, we got to get him out. The Democrats did not have a legitimate uh, primary. Harris got all the
Oh, that's
money. She went
terrible.
forward, and you saw the result.
Now, I want to get back to Iran because I want to understand your point of view is being very involved. You want the Iranian people to have some type of say in their election. What the mullahs are in charge now. They're oppressing the people. They've killed 80,000 people, according to some reports, who are against them. The baby Shah, who they call him, he's seems to be coming in power, but his model for the future is very similar to Nazi Germany's, I guess I understand. How can America help? How can Trump help? And this, we only have a minute or so left. how can he help the Iranian people get involved?
He needs to reach out, and I'm working on this. And I had discussions this past week with the resistance leadership, and we're putting together a plan to get to Trump through one of the members of his inner circle that is also working with us. We're going to ask either Rudy Giuliani, Newt Gingrich, or somebody else in that inner circle if they will present it to Trump, and how we can bring the people of Iran into this fight. Trump should have done that from the very beginning. The first bombings, he warned the leaders, if you kill the people, I'm coming after you. That was in January. In February, he did. He should have immediately embraced the people of Iran and said, we're in it together. He has yet to do that.
Colonel, you've got a wealth of information. People should be listening to you. I think you have some contacts in Trump's administration. I would encourage you to continue working on them, to continue giving your ideas of how we can get the Iranian people back to where they were before these mullahs took over. Unfortunately, the Shah, when President, what was it, President Carter was in charge, he just turned the country over to the Muslims, and this is the result of what had happened. They weren't the best country. They were they were oppressive to a certain degree, but by the same token, this organization has killed 80,000 people. You know, you have to pick the best of both of two worst options. So we've got to get the people involved. I encourage you to get to Trump. If anybody else can help you, to get the people of Iran involved and get them back to a place where the people have a say.
Understood. Gary, always a pleasure.
Always a pleasure. I appreciate everything you're doing. And I'm going to let you go. And I hope to hear more about this topic because it's so important and it's so in the front in the news. Thank you, Colonel. Hope to hear from you soon.
We will. Thank you.
Thank you. All right. Now we have what we call the Tyos professor. I can't even pronounce it. John Adams Klyczek. Is that pronouncing that correctly? Are you there, John?
Yeah, I'm here. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear. Oh, look at that! You look like you were in the radio studio. That's great. I see you, John, and I see your book there. I want to highlight your book. Here it is on Amazon, and I want to talk about it briefly. Your book is called School World Order, and you know, I forget who was the communist who said that, but give me the schools, and in one generation, I will have the country. Who do you remember who said that?
Oh, well, I believe
I
there's a
think that
few
was
people
Stalin. That was
that very
Stalin.
similar things on yeah, I think there's a few.
Tell me about this book.
So my book, basically there's two aspects to it. One is the privatization of education, and then extending from that has to do with the big tech takeover of education. So basically, I look at a series of public-private partnerships on both ends of the aisle. So we have the corporate charter schools and the school of choice movement with the vouchers and the neo vouchers, which are funneling public dollars into private schools. And then we also have the community schools on the left side of the spectrum, which has public-private partnerships through the wraparound services, otherwise sometimes known as pipeline services. And both of what these public-private partnerships implement is lots and lots of ed tech that is data mining students for various algorithms, and then this data is going to be used to build social credit databases. So if your audience is familiar with the social credit system in China, basically it's a total cybernetic surveillance grid in which all your data, whether it's social media or the cameras in the public square or your education records, your workforce records, your healthcare records, all this stuff is aggregated into a social credit score, a profile, and then based on the score, you're permitted or restricted access to the public square and commercial services. And so my book looks at an arc of those technologies, how that data feeds that system, and then how that data is then used to sort of micromanage students' lives, including their career pathways, right, which are going to be their predetermined curriculums, which determine the jobs that they will be in.
So this is important for people who are listening here. I want them to understand that we need to get involved, and you, if you have children and even grandchildren or friends in the school board. What's happening in America is that the conservatives, the Republicans are just saying, "I just want peace. I just want to live my life," and they're giving these quorums. They're giving these positions up to radical people who are supporting these type of things. Now we know that the I believe the school union is the largest union in the United States. It's very powerful, and they are very left wing bent, very left wing oriented. So I'm just putting a clarion call out to all people out there, and I'm sure Professor, you would agree that we've got to get involved because you're uncovering things that are happening that are relatively scary.
Yeah,
Uh,
and I want to emphasize that, the left and the right on the school the choice issue or the school issue in general, the big tech schooling issue in general, are kind of two sides of the same coin. So, I wrote a series for Whitney Webb's Unlimited Hangout called Teachnocracy, and I did some deep dives into both the American Federation of Teachers and the National Education Association, and I showed that they partner with a global union federation known as Education International, the members of which are part of the World Economic Forum. The World Economic Forum is this globalist roundtable where all these multinational technology companies get together with heads of state. And a lot of those multinational technology companies are also in bed with the school choice movement on the right. And as a matter of fact, Albert Shanker, who is the president of the AFT for the longest time, he was the guy that coined the idea for charter schools. He's also a member of the Trilateral Commission. But in the meantime, you got to be careful about the jumping into the school choice voucher and neo voucher thing as sort of a solution to the so-called government school.
Let me repeat what I think you're saying. Everybody's saying we need an not everybody, but many people are saying we need an alternative to public schools. So they're saying the charter school is the ideal solution. However, the problem there is corporations are getting very much involved, right? And they're pouring their money into into these
Yeah.
schools. Go ahead.
Oh, I'm sorry. No, I heard a pause. Sorry, I jumped in probably a little prematurely,
No,
but it's
no, go
also
ahead.
expanding. It's definitely bringing big tech into the home, and it's giving them the opportunity to data mine your children for all that scary stuff that I mentioned earlier, all that social credit stuff. But it'll also expand government reaches into the home, because when you take government monies, they come with government strings attached. And in my most two recent articles you can get on my website, schoolworldorder.info, I look at some of the state laws that the neo vouchers are codified under, and they demonstrate that you have to meet certain standards, certain regulatory mandates. So if you really want to get out of the government schools and you want to homeschool, you got to make a co-op and a pod with people in your community, sort of subsidize each other, but you got to stay off of that money, because it's going to bring those government strings attached. And pretty much the only options you're going to have to pay for, maybe there's a private school somewhere nearby, but that's not going to put a big dent in that tuition. So most of that money is sort of allocated so that you can buy all those big tech applications: K-12 Inc., Pearson Online Academy, Dreambox, Newton, etc.
Wow, wow. So, bottom line, what advice do you have for people, parents, grandparents, kids in school, for people involved in the school board?
Yeah, so I mean, I think it's a two-pronged front. I think it's important to create parallel structures and to do the homeschooling thing, sort of vote with your dollars. If you're not happy with what's happening at the public school, you can remove that attendance money by going and doing a homeschool thing, as long as you stay off of that voucher money. But then you still have every right to go to those school board meetings and still voice your opinion, because you're still paying tax dollars. And maybe you can suggest that maybe if they change things to reflect the community's actual values, maybe then you might bring the children back. So I think both are important, because if we throw all the eggs in one basket, if you move into the homeschool thing, and you totally abandon the public school, you're all sort of going to be sitting ducks for a coming day when government regulations expand and further encroach upon the homeschooling system.
They approached on us when I was in New York. We homeschooled our three kids from New York. They weren't allowed to participate in BOCES, which is a nonprofit thing run by the government. They had to buy our own books. They couldn't do anything, and it was very oppressive. I agree 100% with you. Now, one other thing I wanted to mention is there's a counter movement to charter schools called community schools. What are they about?
So community schools, the way to under the Every Student Succeeds Act, ESSA, in order to be certified as a full service community school, basically what it is you have to have what are called pipeline services. Sometimes they call them wraparound services. So you have to integrate with whatever academics they might have. You also have to integrate workforce training with in-demand industries in the local area, various healthcare programs, mental health, et cetera. They'll have that integrated with community-oriented policing systems in which they have programs to help at-risk students from falling through the cracks and things like that. And then it also integrates adult ed and other sorts of community the recreations and things into the community center. But they actually do have what are known community, and so that's a combination. Some community schools are technically public and they have like an elected board, but a community charter school would not have an elected board. It would be a private edu corporation subsidized by public tax dollars. You wouldn't have an elected board, but then it would also have more public-private partnerships built into the central public-private partnership that is the community charter
Let me break it
itself. And
down.
in some
Sure.
ways, those are probably the most pernicious.
Let me break it down my understanding. Basically, community schools are left-wing alternative to the charter schools. Would you say that's basically true? Yeah. So
Yeah, and I wrote an article where I pretty much said community schools are not the antidote to charter schools, to basically saying what you just said, that they're two sides of the same coin. It's the left-wing version of charter schools, basically.
it's the government saying, "Oh, we'll give you this wonderful alternative, which is identical to the existing alternative." There's so much going on, and your book, I think, is great. I see there's School World Order. Please, if you have children, go there. One thing I do want to mention to you, Mr. Professor, I think you and Bruce Lee have something in common. I see something over to your left there. Are you into martial arts?
Yeah, you see my Mook Jong, my wooden man, my kung fu dummy. Yes, I've since I was 16. So I think you can see the black belt up there. I have a black belt in Taekwondo. I have an instructor certificate in Muay Thai. I don't actually have any rank in Wing Chun. One of the guys that I learned from, we would go to Dan Insano seminars and things. And my Wing Chun's not bad though, even though I
Well,
technically
I have a good friend who's in Wing Chun. His statement to me is that in order to have a fair fight, he would need three other people to fight with him. That would be a fair fight.
it's a fun hobby to have. It keeps you healthy.
And I love your book over there, The Christ and Tao. That's pretty interesting. You have a lot of interesting things, but you're talking about education. We're gonna need to get to the end here. I just want to ask you, give me your closing thoughts.
Just to sort of maybe paint a broader picture for people that might not be super concerned about education. Maybe you don't have children or something. Everything I mentioned about the ed tech data mining, this is just one aspect of a broader cybernetic panopticon that's being put in place. All this hoopla around the data centers has everything to do with data mining, not just students' data, but the same thing is going to be going on in healthcare and in policing, predictive policing. So what I'm zooming in on is
basically flock cameras in the classroom. That's basically what you're saying.
it's all predictive analytics that through all the various sectors of society, again, healthcare, education, workforce, policing, right? Predictive analytics that are either going to determine what you can and can't do, and maybe even accuse you of some things that you didn't do.
Well, thank you. Thank you very much. We're going to move on to our next guest. I really appreciate it. Professor, everybody get that book, School World Order. Thank you very much. And Indy, are you there?
I am here.
How are you? Wait, we got just a picture. So we're going to get a video or just a picture?
You
Well,
should have a video.
I don't see you. All I see is a picture, which is fine. I'm going to ask you to start your video.
It's funny because it's showing that it's running.
Okay. All I see is your photo. That's
Okay,
something.
there it goes.
You know. Ah, you look younger than your still picture there. Look much younger.
Okay.
We have another interesting thing to talk about. And listen, this is big time in the news. Everybody's talking about it. I heard it today. UFOs. They're all over the place. And we have looked at your book last time, and it was um, it's really pretty scary talking about sacrificing humanity. Let me show everybody your book why I'm talking about it, and then we're going to get to it. But there was something extremely scary you mentioned last time when we were on the air, and that is there's been proof that UFOs have been hovering around nuclear sites in America, and they have been able to crack in and get the launch codes of those. Now, did I say that correctly?
You did.
Wow. Now that's scary. Are we doing anything to protect ourselves? By the way, everybody, get his book, Sacrifice Humanity. It's available in Amazon, right?
Yeah, it's on Amazon. It's all at all booksellers. You just type in Sacrificing Humanity by Indy Pederson. You have to type in the whole name and everything
All right.
for it to for Amazon to bring it up.
So I think what your book gets to, which I find extremely interesting, is people say, "Oh, there's UFOs. There's UFO. Are they friendly? Are they not friendly? Are they coming to? Are you going to give us technology?" And you take the next step, which is really well. Let's be serious here. They are hovering around nuclear launch sites. That's extremely concerning. I would think if that's true.
Yeah, the problem is that our government has lied to us for decades and said that they're not a national security threat. And now that they realize that they have, and they've betrayed the trust that they have with the public, they're having to come out in the open about it because it is a serious national security risk because of the hundreds of times that they've interfered with our nuclear command and control systems. As I said in the congressional hearings, they call it the nuclear equities, then use a nice euphemism there, which is like our launch control of our nuclear weapons. And you hear a lot about, well, they changed the launch codes or they shut down our systems, which happened a couple times. But what you don't hear about is the 10 to 20 times that they could have potentially caused a nuclear war because they literally started a countdown. I interviewed missileers in the Minuteman missile sites where there's 3 of them. And one was telling me the story how they thought they were literally in the middle of a nuclear war. I guess they had to walk outside and see that everything was still there, but they had a complete mental breakdowns, all 3 of them. And one was telling me this, and the other 2 were nodding their heads, yes, we saw this, and they described how they went through almost a mental breakdown over it because they thought we were in the middle of a nuclear war. The same thing happened in Russia, where the launch on us did not stop until the UFO left.
Wow. So we need to get a movie about this, yeah, or a documentary or something, because people don't know this, but this would make very educational movie or documentary because these things are actually happening. I mean, people should be aware of these type of things. So what should people be doing now? I mean, you're saying they don't trust the government, but they do believe in UFOs. What should people be doing?
Let me comment on the first part of that about the movie. My book starts off almost like a movie. It starts off with prophecies. It's a parable and prophecies and pictures. And so it starts off with the prophecy from Revelation, and the 5th angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven unto the earth, and unto him was given the key of the bottomless pit. And if you look at these things, when I experienced one of these closer than any human, I think, that lived to tell about it, which is 2 feet in front of my face. It was right here.
Wow.
One of these orbs, they call them UAPs. And me and my business partner on the Camino Austral, there wasn't anyone within 100 miles of us. And I was looking inside the engine of that. There's only the side window of the truck between me and it. And it's got this like churning liquid metal inside of it. And this whole thing took 15 minutes. So it rolls out ball lightning and piezoelectric effects and other things. And then it, like something out of Star Trek, it started converting into a being with torso and head and everything, but I didn't wait around for all the appendages to come in, materialize. And that was in recent data dumps. I've been telling people about this and wrote about it over a year ago, and nobody has ever talked about this until recently with the data dumps and the disclosure movement. There's a data dump from a military file called anamorphous orb. Not amorphous, but anamorphous, which is a biological term, which means the appendages.
Anamorphous orb.
Yeah, anamorphous orb. So the appendages come in last, the arms and the legs, which is exactly what I witnessed. So it was something like out of Star Trek, where these beings are being beamed in via these orbs. So my book starts off, and the fifth angel sounded, and I saw a star fall from heaven. That's what it looked like. When it first came down, me and my business partner were watching it in Patagonia, where there's massive cattle mutilations, we witnessed the largest in all of South America, hundreds of cows and sheep, and humans now being cored out just like the cattle. I saw the blood
being what? Courted, what did you say?
The humans are, I've seen the blood curdling photos of humans that are cored out, just like the cows were, their eyes cored out with surgical precision and their sex organs and their anuses. I don't know what they're doing with those parts, but those are the parts.
God, so they're killing people.
Yeah, they're killing people now. Yes, absolutely. And there's a whole island of Caloris, if you look it up on AI. They attacked another island similar to mine. When I first started, I bought an island property down there, and the locals told me that this island you're buying property on is a known UFO base, and I laughed because I did not believe in UFOs. So, but I've seen a lot to prove that they do exist and they're real. So when they first come down, it's like a star falling from heaven onto the earth, and that's the scripture I opened the book with. And because it's zipping around, it looks like a star initially until it then came. Us seeing it. Can tell that we're watching it. It's in the most recent data dump, tranche 4. You watch, and every single one of those orbs, they can tell when the gun cameras are on them because they zip off. Or another orb comes in and does a right angle turn right in front of the camera at the same time. It's the most amazing footage, is the tranche number 4 that they just released. Anyway, it looks like a star initially, and then and a star fell from heaven onto the earth. Well, it's physically impossible for a star to fall onto the earth because stars have greater gravity. And so that's not possible to literally happen. And then to him was given the key of the bottomless pit. Most people don't think that ICBMs are launched with a button. They're not. That's a complete misconception. They're launched with a key, and I got a picture of the key. So first picture is a picture of a orb over ICBM taking control of the ICBM sites, just as what's happening, up to 20 cases that could have caused potential nuclear war. And then to him is given the key of the bottomless pit, and you see a picture of the key. Well, this person that's given, this entity that's given the key is called Abaddon or Apollyon.
Okay, now listen, I want to get to one thing really quickly here. You mentioned something in the beginning of your book. Is there a spiritual Christian element to these UFOs, do you believe?
Well, the book is in prophecies from the book of Revelation primarily, yeah.
So these UFOs actually could be, for lack of a better term, devil spirits, possibly?
They are definitely fulfilling the avenging angels part of Revelation.
Absolutely.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
And we're kind of coming to the end. I know time always goes so fast. I appreciate your patience here. This is a hot topic. Everybody's talking about UFOs. Please go get Indy Pederson. Pederson's book. It's called Sacrificing Humanity, Sacrificing Humanity. And I just want to say thank you so much for joining us.
Yeah, I hope to be back because there's so much more to cover. We're just scratching the surface. It's all
I
in my book,
know, I
Sacrificing
know.
Humanity.
And I find it so interesting, but I appreciate it, Indy. God bless you and save us from the UFOs.
God bless you. Thank you for
Thank
having
you.
me.
Thank you. God bless. All right, David, how are you?
I'm fine, Gary. Can you hear me okay?
I hear you fine now. You look great. You look like you're in Florida, I'm going to guess. Are you?
No, I'm in the UK.
Okay, same thing. Say we have the same the same weather, right?
Yeah, well, it's a bit colder here, put it that way.
Well, that's only in the high 80s here. That's about it. We're talking about, well, I want to first introduce you as David Crawford. Very interesting topic. And this is, it's kind of a spiritual topic. You wrote a book, A Manual for the Dead, right? Is that your book?
That's absolutely correct.
Let's take a look at that because I find it interesting. And again, these are interesting topics that need to get a little bit more. A manual, not Emmanuel, not Emmanuel, but a manual for the dead and afterlife experiences of firsthand accounts. How many firsthand accounts do you go through in this particular book, David?
I only have my own experience, which is one. So
Okay.
the first part of the book describes exactly how I ended up in hospital, what happened to me, a brief biography of my time in hospital. Second part of the book is what I kind of learned in that state, which was far, far different to what most near-death experiences or literature, YouTube videos are.
Okay, so I want to set the stage here. What was your religious, spiritual positioning before your near-death experience?
I was kind of raised a little bit strangely by my dad. I was introduced to Gnostic Christianity at a very young age. I spent a long time in Zen Buddhism.
Okay.
I trained in a monastery for 2 years, and
Wow.
I was a Buddhist monk. I left there when I was about 22. I'm 51 years old now, but I've really kind of explored all sorts of paths of religion and theology.
Okay, I have a similar background to that. I dabbled in many different things before I became a Christian. I never had a near-death experience, thank God. But tell me what happened and what happened to you afterwards.
Basically, a few years ago, I basically drank myself to death.
My
I drank
goodness.
alcohol to an absolute, crazy degree. I was drinking a liter of vodka a day.
Well,
Uh,
that's not typical for England, is it? A lot of people don't drink there, do they?
yeah, I think it's probably my Scottish in the blood, I think. But
A
anyway,
liter
well,
of vodka a day. Okay. Going
yeah.
for the world record. And what
Yeah,
happened?
it sounds like it was fun, but it's not. So basically, I ended up in hospital, had two blood transfusions. I was in a coma for 5 days, and I had a very, very strange experience when I was in that state in the hospital. And then I decided when I came round to actually, luckily, came out of it. I wrote a memoir for me, not for anybody else. It was written just for me because of the rising rates of dementia and so on, in case I forgot what I saw, which basically was a manual for me, as it's called, a manual for the dead. So the first part of the book, like I say, it basically is, how I ended up there, what happened to me, that sort of business. Second part is what I kind of learned in a very strange terrain.
That's what I want to hear. Let's
Yeah,
concentrate on the second part right now.
yeah, for sure. So basically, the nearest way I could describe it, Gary, to you would be, imagine if you dropped into a foreign country. You have no idea of the customs, you have no idea of the language, you have no currency, you're utterly lost, completely lost. It's not as far away as what you think. Imagine like an overlay. I was in hospital, and I was in hospital when I was in the state, but it was slightly off. It was different. it was different people. They kind of were more anachronistic. Nurses looked like they were from the 1950s, things like that. You knew there was something untoward, something a bit weird. It was more like a processing plant rather than anything.
Were you nervous? Were you scared, or was it just you were unsure? What was
I
your
would
feeling?
say I was scared in a horror movie sense of scared. It was bewilderment. It
Bewildered.
was,
Okay, I
yeah,
got it. What happened
uncertain,
then? What happened then?
uncertain. I didn't see any of the comforting things that people report in NDEs. There was no dead relatives. There was no, religious icons or what have you. There was nobody, past friends or anything like that who've died who I knew. It was a completely different thing to what I imagined. I'm not saying that everybody is wrong and
Well,
I'm
that's
right.
not. But tell us what. Tell us. We're dying to know. What did you see?
Oh, okay. Let's say I'll have to give you another analogy. Imagine you go to a supermarket, right, and you buy something and it's rubbish, and you take it back and you want to complain. And first of all, you go to the guy in the kiosk and he says, "No, I don't want anything to do with that. It's above my pay grade." He points you to like the girl at the checkout, and she says, "Look, this is no good to me. It's no good. I'll point you to the produce manager." And then it goes up the chain until you get to the middle management. And then it's where you're processed. And if you just a bit of a pain in the ass, they constantly move you on. And I deal with about 7 what I call psychopomps, not guides. Guides has a very loaded term as
So,
the benevolent.
wait. You went to a person with a complaint, or you just went to a person and they said, "Well, you have to go to the next person. You have to go to the
Yeah,
next person."
yeah,
And
you're right on the line. I had
now,
I had to
in that moment, were you aware that you were perhaps not alive, that you were in a different world, or you were just, what did you think?
That's a longer conversation. It took me a while to come round that I'm in a different state here. I felt
Okay.
absolutely fine. I felt great. All I wanted to do was go home.
Uh,
In reality, I had an anal catheter, I had a penile catheter, and had all sorts of things rigged up. In that state, I was great. I felt as fit as I've ever felt, and all I
great.
wanted to do was get out of hospital. And I kept asking everybody, and they said, "No, you have to go and lie down. You have to be quiet, and you just have to go to sleep." And I didn't want to go to sleep. And each person I asked, they were like, "No, you have to lie down," and it's incredibly frustrating to the point
It's
where
like dealing with a bank today.
yeah, exactly. You want to draw your money out, and you get asked where it come from, that whole thing, and
So you get to the middle management people eventually. What happens when you get to the top person?
well, I didn't get to the top person. I got to the middle management, and then one thing I do want to say, Gary, is that time doesn't operate differently. Time's the same. The sun comes up, the sun goes down. The moon comes out, and the moon goes down. That's the way it works, in my experience. So I lived that 5 days perfectly the way you would live 5 days in your life. So there's no fast track. There's nothing like that.
So you
And
were in that state for 5 full days. Wow.
yes, 5 full days. Yes, that's correct.
We're kind of coming to the end here. I know this I find this extremely interesting, David, just so you know. Get to the end here. What happened at the very end?
I guess I was very lucky and had a good surgeon. So I had 2 blood transfusions, and they repaired the varices in my liver and esophagus. And then I came round afterwards, and that was the story. But I've got it all out in the book. If people find it interesting, people find it helpful, great.
Okay, so now we established where you were before this event spiritually, many different religions. You were checking different things out. You were,
I, th-
where
I
did
think I th- Sorry, I think I was. I've always been a Christian of a very early church bent, and I've always found that Buddhism, its path is very similar to the Desert Fathers, etc. And I have no qualms with that. I have no problem with that kind of thing. So I was very much investigative.
so where do you stand now?
Where do I stand now? I really don't know, Gary. I would like to say that it changed my views on death, which it did, because I realized there was something different. I didn't get the light show. I didn't get the tunnel of lights and all that.
Well, I'd love to talk to you some more. I find this extremely interesting, and I may just maybe we'll have a separate Zoom call, you and I.
Fantastic.
I think that there is an explanation that would be spiritual to this particular thing. I know it was very involved. We just scratched the surface, but I want to thank you, David. Please, everybody, get his book. It's called what is
Manual for the Dead.
A Manual for the Dead.
Yeah.
Get that book. It's he'll tell you his experience when he was back from the dead. Here it is right here. Manual for the Dead. And pick it up on Amazon or just do a search for the name A Manual for the Dead. Thank you so much, David. I want to talk to you more. Very interesting. Hope to talk to you again.
Thank you very much, Gary.
God bless you.
Cheers.
And
Thank you.
we now have another. We have a reporter. I'm a reporter interviewing a reporter. Isn't that interesting? A reporter interviewing a reporter. Mr. Nan Su. Nan, how are you?
Hi, pretty good.
Now, well, I
Thanks
guess
for
you
having me.
I love having you. Are you kidding? You're a senior reporter. I'm just a junior. I'm sorry. I'm not worthy. So, senior reporter for the Epoch Times. Hey, a conservative place, but a conservative news site that has many different reporters. But you're senior. You're a longtime commentator on Chinese affairs. What a coincidence. Are you Chinese? I don't want to be racist, but maybe I could say you kind of look Chinese, but probably you are. I hope you don't take offense.
Yes, I'm Chinese American. Now, keep in mind, Chinese Americans are Americans, not Chinese.
All right, thank you. Show me your license, right? Okay. So I want to thank you for that. I want to give you a little bit more of your background, and I have some information here about you. Let's see. There you go. Well, your expertise is human rights advocacy, basically on Chinese affairs. Is that correct?
Yes, everything related to China, just ask me. I'm your expert.
I want to know. Okay, there's so much because there's so much to go
Yeah,
to.
whatever you want to talk about.
All right, let's talk about China influencing U.S.-based reports.
Yes.
CNN, ABC. Oh, it can't be true. They can't be influencing them. Is it possible that they're actually doing this?
Yes, absolutely possible. It's a part of the so-called United Front work. Now, for the people who have not heard of this part of the CCP's operation, CCP has under CCP, the Chinese Communist Party has the three biggest department. That among that three, there are organization department, propaganda department, and there's another one called United Front Work Department. Basically, that's a department that's solely in charge of reaching out to build alliance with any organization or individuals who has either common interest with the CCP or if not common interest, if they cannot find a common interest between you or your organization and CCP, then they will try to find the common enemy. For example, China and Iran, they have a common enemy. That's the United States. So that the United Front work will go reach out to them. So try to build this kind of alliance. Now,
I want to show an article you sent to me, if you don't mind.
yes.
I think it was written by Natalie Winters. She's a reporter, and leaked documents show mainstream journalists are taking pay-for-pay trips to China. So in order to get they're getting paid in order to be friendly towards the Chinese points of view. Is that true?
Yes, that's a
Look at all
United.
these names.
That's
New York
the
Times.
Yeah, that's the CCP United Front Work Department reaching out to the American mainstream media, like the New York Times, the Washington Post, the Politico, the New Yorker, the Atlantic, NPR, PBS.
Why aren't they calling me? I would take a trip to China. That'd be fine. I would have some fun time. It'd be no problem.
Well, say once the problem is once these people coming back from from China, then they all of a sudden they start writing in favor of the CCP,
What a
and
coincidence. What a coincidence.
yeah, yeah, and then they start, like for example, when President Trump raised the tariffs on the things from China, then they start criticizing the president's trade policy. So
Of
this is
course.
a kind of a work that the CCP has been doing, trying to deeply infiltrate to American media as well as the whole society here in the United States.
Let me ask a related question. Is there money changing hands in terms of money going to these news outlets, or in terms of advertising Chinese goods on their sites?
Now, not based on this investigation. The investigation basically found out that all these the journalists as well as the columnists or the editors of from these major U.S. media network, they are paid those people they are paid to go to Beijing to have of course it's going to be a very nice trip, and then they are during those trip while they're enjoying the trip, they will also have the opportunity to build some personal connections with high-ranking Chinese Communist Party officials as well as so-called the Chinese academics. Of
Well,
course,
now
with
you're bringing up an important point here. I want to make sure I understand legally. Let's say I work for NBC. I go on this trip. I get wined and dined. I go to the best restaurants, whatever I want. I have a lot of fun. Somebody comes to dinner. It happens to be a very high-ranking Chinese official. There's a lot, whoa, that's pretty important. Now I have a relationship with him. Now, is it against American rules or laws or at least morals for me to be having this close relationship with a communist country? Is that okay?
Well, that's in the gray area, right? It depends on how strong your moral base is. It could be against your moral principle or journalist principle or in a different
Well,
way. It depends how you consider it, right?
I
So
don't think those journalists have any principles. I'm sorry. They have.
okay, now here is the problem. Once they become known to these ranking government officials. Now, based on the report, it was released that these journalists that they actually even met with the like a deputy foreign minister of China. Is that the high ranking? Of course, it's a high ranking.
Very
So
high ranking.
that's right. So once they build up the personal relations with these high-ranking CCP officials, then even after they came back from China, coming back to the United States, now those connections become their source for the information relating on business, related to China. So basically, if all these very influential American journalists, after they use the high-ranking CCP officials' information for their writing, then the result is obviously, of course, they will write things in favor of the CCP, right?
Against our government, and against our government.
Yeah,
I
of
mean,
course. Yeah, they will say anything basically nice about the CCP, and they will criticize any U.S. administration's policy that's not favor of the CCP, right?
I don't know legally, Mr. Nan. what can be done? I don't know if there's laws that we can put in place to stop that, or they would say that's suppression of the press.
Well, I
What's
think you are doing the best. See, once your program and your audience learn these things, I think this is the best thing it's going to happen to stop this kind of actions.
So if you're listening and you're not happy with China influencing, buying, peddling influence with major news sources, please share this video. It's on YouTube. Share this information. Get in touch with Nan and also with your organization, which is the Epoch Times, and let people know that hey, when you're listening to some of these news, they're being, I don't, not quite paid for, but being influenced by the Chinese government.
That is correct. That's a part of the unrestricted warfare that the CCP has been conducting against the United States ever since mid-90s. It's called unrestricted warfare. So basically, it's a warfare that without seeing the smoke and without hearing any bombshell. But they have been going on. It's a war against the United States. It has been going on for more than 30 years. So now there's a different part of this war. A part of this very important part of this war is called the elite catcher. So they will try to catch as many famous and influential elites here in the United States as possible. So those people, will speak for the CCP's interests in the United States.
Of course, they want to get to the top people. But listen, we don't have a lot of time. I want to talk about one other quick thing. China has sent 400 missile launches to Iran. Is that true?
That is true. And now Iran and China had these long relations, right? So China has been sending their economic aid to Iran, and Iran has been selling cheap oil to China. They have been supporting each other. Now think about why the CCP now in such a crucial time, American soldiers they are fighting in the Middle East, while at the same time, China is selling 400 shoulder carry anti earth to air, that kind of missile defense,
Quick second. I just want to say
air defense missile system to Iran. That truly shows the nature of CCP.
Quick, we got like 30 seconds. If you get a chance, go to my book, The Jesus Gospel, JesusGospel.com, recommended by Supreme Court Justice Clarence Thomas. Now let's finish the work. We can stay on after the news, the radio. You got about 20 seconds. Tell me what you want to leave on the radio.
Well, I think if you hear anybody who say China is our competitor, then he is dead wrong. China is our enemy, not our competitor.
Wow, I love that. That's a great look. Now, we're off the air, but I want to stay on for a couple of minutes because I'm really interested in what you have to say. Thank you, I'm going to say, for being a Chinese American, but being a true American, being a conservative, and being someone who looks critically at what's really going on with a desire to educate others. So, Mr. Su, I appreciate greatly what you're doing. And you write for Epoch Times regularly, yes?
Yes, I do.
Send me some of your articles. Love to see them.
All right, thank you.
And I'm going to share this on my YouTube. I've already sent you the link, but I'm going to share the specific link. I just sent the general link. I can't get the specific link until it's broadcast. But if you could share this video with others, I will give you a timestamp. I would greatly appreciate it. God bless
Thank you for having me.
Thank you for being here. It was very interesting, and God bless you. Again, this is Gary Scarano from the UnderDog Report, writer of the book, The Jesus Gospel, at JesusGospel.com, endorsed by Clarence Thomas. Also, we were live on WPAT to 10 million people in New York, And I am also the reporter for the Underdog Report, underdogreport.com. I am a reporter for Joe Hoff, joehoff.com. Current events from a Christian perspective. Thank you all. We'll see you next month.